Welcome! We've finally reached the end of our journey through Mark's Gospel. What a ride it's been, right? We've seen Jesus as the ultimate servant, and now we're at the breathtaking finish line. His resurrection, his final orders, and his return to glory. All right, let's jump right in. You know, everything we've read in this book has been leading us right here, to this moment. Mark has painted this incredible picture of Jesus as the suffering servant, the one who willingly gave up his life. Well, chapter 16, this is the payoff. It's the ultimate proof that his sacrifice worked, proving his power over the one thing nobody can beat, death itself. And let's be clear, the resurrection isn't just a nice ending to the story. It is the absolute cornerstone of the Christian faith. It's the one event that proves Jesus is exactly who he said he was, the Son of God. Without this chapter, honestly, the whole thing falls apart. But with it, everything is confirmed. So let's put ourselves there. Picture it. It's Sunday morning. The Sabbath is over, and there's just this heavy, thick grief hanging in the air. A small group of women start making their way to the tomb, not with any hope or expectation, but just to perform one final, sorrowful duty. Mark chapter 16, verses 1 and 2, tells us it was Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome, and they'd brought spices to anoint Jesus' body. Now, that's a crucial detail, isn't it? Their actions prove, beyond a shadow of a doubt, they were not expecting a resurrection. They were simply coming to do one last act of love for their teacher, who they believed was gone forever. And this just shows you exactly where their heads were at. It's so human. Their biggest worry, as they're walking along, is a totally practical one. In Mark chapter 16, verse 3, they're wondering, how are we going to move that massive stone? To them, it was just this final, impossible barrier sealing away all their hope. But then they get there, they look up, and their biggest problem has already been solved. The stone, which Mark makes a point of saying was very great, was already rolled away. Now, this wasn't just a lucky break. It was a massive, visual sign that a power way beyond anything human had been at work here. God was on the move. So they go inside, and they don't find a body. Instead, there's an angel who delivers the single most important news flash in all of human history. He tells them, "Don't be afraid." And then he says it. "You're looking for Jesus of Nazareth, the one who was crucified? He is risen. He is not here." And he even invites them to see for themselves, to look at the empty slab where he had been laid. Then the angel gives them a very specific instruction in Mark chapter 16, verse 7. He says, "Go tell his disciples and Peter." Whoa, hang on. Did you catch that? And Peter. After Peter's horrible, shameful denial, he must have felt completely cut off, like he'd burned that bridge forever. But this message, this is a profound act of grace. It's a direct invitation for him to come back. The Lord hadn't given up on him. Now, you'd think that this incredible news would have been met with, immediate, explosive joy. But Mark, in his typical, brutally honest style, shows us something very different, something very, very human. He shows us deep, profound doubt. I mean, just look at this. It's almost hard to believe. In verses 9 through 13, the reports start coming in. First, Mary Magdalene, the first eyewitness, runs to the disciples, and they just flat out refuse to believe her. Then, two more disciples actually meet Jesus on the road. They come back with the same story, and what happens? The others don't believe them either. So, finally, Jesus just appears to the 11 himself, and he doesn't pat them on the back. Nope, he confronts them head-on for their unbelief and hardness of heart. But think about it, their skepticism actually serves an incredible purpose for us. It proves they weren't just a bunch of gullible guys ready to believe anything. They were tough, hard-nosed skeptics who had to be convinced by undeniable physical proof. Okay, so once their doubt is totally shattered and they finally believe, Jesus doesn't just let them sit around and soak it in. No way. He immediately gives them their new purpose, their marching orders, their mission for the rest of their lives. This is what we call the Great Commission, right there in Mark chapter 16, verses 15 and 16. And the sheer scale of it is just mind-blowing. The message isn't just for a small group anymore. It's for all the world and every creature. And the terms are laid out so clearly. The response is to believe and be baptized. That leads to salvation. And the consequence for not believing? Well, that's damnation. And Jesus also promises that their message won't just be empty words. It's going to be backed up with power. According to verses 17 and 18, supernatural signs would actually follow those who believe. Now, in the early church, this wasn't about putting on a show. These signs were like a divine stamp of approval, authenticating the gospel and showing everyone that God's kingdom was really breaking into the world. And with his final instructions delivered, his earthly mission is complete. The suffering servant ascends into heaven and is enthroned. He sits down at the right hand of God. That's the ultimate seat of power and authority in the entire universe. His vindication is absolute and total. Now, this isn't just a history lesson, you know? The end of Mark's gospel is actually the beginning of our story. This whole chapter has a direct impact on every single one of us, right here, right now. This last verse, verse 20, is just everything. It says the disciples went out and preached. But, and this is the key, they weren't alone. It was the Lord working with them. That's it. That's the secret sauce. The very same risen Lord who worked through them back then is still working through his people today. The mission continues. So, this all leaves us with a pretty big question. How are we going to respond to this commission? The call is to be doers of the word, not just people who hear it and forget. To really help you lock this in, I seriously encourage you to use the flashcards and take the quiz that go with this lesson. And to get ready for our next study, your homework is to read the first chapter of the Gospel of Matthew. Thank you so much for joining us for this dive into Mark's final, powerful chapter. This study was brought to you by the You Need Faith in Jesus team. We'll see you next time as we kick off a brand new journey together.